Hello, everybody, and welcome into VRIC Media, your most trusted voice in metals and mining. My name is Jesse Day. Today is December 29th, 2025, and we are bringing the VRIC to you with our series of expert online panels. Today, we have Mario Innecco, the host of the Innecco 64 YouTube channel, and Taylor Kenney, host of Tailor Made Economics on ITM Trading. I believe this is the third time we've all gotten together. People really love to hear from both of you, so it's great to have you back for another round to discuss, of course, the precious metals.
Awesome. An honor to be here, as always. Very excited.
Yeah, same here.
Well, what a year it has been for silver, and what a last-minute run and then correction we had, up over 10% in a single day on Friday before dropping back down dramatically to around $71 where it sits today. I'm wondering what your overall thoughts are on silver's performance in 2025, and what do you make of this massive single day move and now correction to the downside? Mario, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, silver, looking at some numbers here, is the best performing of all the precious and base metals this year to date, despite the correction we're having today as we speak. It's still up 143%, which if you had told me that beginning of the year, I would have been very happy with, but not too convinced that it would happen. So I think silver has basically surprised everyone on the upside, and it's going to keep surprising everyone on the upside. And I think the volatility we've seen Friday and today is mainly due to a thin market. So I think the correction that we've had today could be over very quickly. And I think the reason, silver is moving higher is that people are starting to realize things that we've been looking at, both you and both of you and I have been looking at for years now, all the supply deficits every year, the fact that silver is like a really important mineral or metal for industry, and that there's also a monetary aspect to it. So I think that it's suddenly becoming, people are waking up to it, and that's why I think silver has done so well. And it's caught the mainstream bankers by surprise, because they've controlled the silver market with paper for many decades. And you can't really build electric vehicles, like batteries and everything else with futures. You have to do it with real metal. And I think that's the story for silver so far, this year, and I think it's going to continue going forward.
Yeah, great summary there. And Samsung, I believe, is producing a new type of battery that uses a lot of silver. A lot of people have been talking about that. I will note that when it comes to this correction that we've seen in the silver market today, be wary, because there's a lot of false information being spread on X. There's some AI bot accounts that are talking about a lot of different things that are just not true, hyping up silver. So of course, everybody jumps on board. Silver bugs are like religious fanatics. So whenever you post anything positive or anything about the banks getting crushed or the short sellers getting squeezed, they're all going to love it and share it. So be careful out there where you get your information from. Taylor, what are your thoughts on silver's trajectory so far in 2025, the massive move, subsequent correction, and how you see it positioned at the moment?
I completely agree with Mario. And also, before I dive into that, I do appreciate throwing that out there, Jesse, because I'm on X a ton and I see all this misinformation as well, and especially coming from these new AI channels. And it's concerning, because at the end of the day, we all feel very vindicated, I think, and justified. And I am relatively new still in this space, but I know for many people, they've had years, if not decades, of heartbreak when it comes to maybe specifically silver. So to feel this kind of momentum and like we've known it all along, it's easy to get caught up in that, but I do appreciate that. What is true, though, in my opinion, is that we are witnessing a structural change, right, from paper to physical. And I think Mario hit the nail on the head talking about industrial and monetary uses and demand for both, right, continuing to increase. And as we're seeing that, Eventually the dam is breaking and they've tried their best to suppress and manipulate with paper, but at a certain point, the pressure just builds and builds. And I think that's what we're finally seeing. So yes, there was a big correction today, but I think we're still at the early stages, very early stages, if you ask me.
Well, with this incredible momentum behind silver, all the factors you've both outlined, how do you think silver will perform as we move into 2026? You don't have to throw out a specific price prediction, but do you think it could get to triple digits? And just your thoughts on its trajectory, whether you see all of the tailwinds we've been discussing intensifying, Mario?
I definitely think silver will get to triple digits. I'm not going to say it might. I think it will. And it's going to keep surprising everyone. It's going to keep surprising the Bitcoin crowd who keep saying the best trade is to sell silver and buy Bitcoin. I think it's the other way around. And in terms of price, yeah, I think we could get into like even above 200 eventually next year. It's not far-fetched, and one of the reasons why is because, as Taylor said, silver has been suppressed, the price for so long, for like 45, 50 years. And you probably all know about this cup and handle formation, which we've broken out of in silver recently. I think it was October. And gold did the same thing like a year and a half or two ago. And look at what happened to gold. The level there was 2070, 2100, and gold exploded higher. And so I think there's a lot of room for silver on the upside as well. So yeah, I'm quite optimistic about the gold price, which basically means the dollar and all other fiat currencies are going down. But the world, the powers that be, they need weaker currencies because the debt load is so huge, especially in 2026. We're going to see a lot of borrowers, especially the US Treasury, have to roll over all the cheap debt that they issued in 2021 in the during COVID when they really like pushed rates artificially low. So I think that's the only way out they have to allow the metals to debase their currencies. It makes everything, well, it makes the debt easier to carry.
Yeah, great points. Taylor, what do you think? Are we headed to triple digits in 2026? And just your thoughts on the trajectory of the silver market into the new year.
Yeah, I would agree 100% we are. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that triple digits is just the starting point. I mean, 100, 200, 300. I don't really like to price speculate because for me, I buy silver when it was $25. I buy silver when it's $75. I'll buy silver when it's $150 because cheap and expensive are just relative terms, right? And what feels maybe expensive today compared to January 1st could feel cheap compared to January 1st of next year, right, as in 2027. So for me, it all kind of comes back to the why and the greater factors at play. Like Mario said, I look at the global monetary reset, and I know that gold and silver still have a long way to go. So again, yes, absolutely. I think triple digits is in our future.
Yeah, and it should be noted that to get back to 1980 all-time highs, inflation adjusted is above $200, and that's using CPI, government inflation statistics, so much higher if we're accounting for real inflation. Now, obviously, so much hype surrounding the silver market right now. We talked about how that has allowed these AI bots to go on a rampage because everybody loves a good silver story. But of course, we're also hearing talks that triple-digit silver is a foregone conclusion. I think you would both agree with that, and I do as well. But in terms of expecting perhaps a more severe pullback here in the metal, do you think that could be in the cards as well? Because it's often when everybody is most jubilant and most excited that Mr. Market decides to go in the opposite direction. Do you think we could see such a scenario? And would that just be an opportunity to buy the dip in your view? And Taylor, I'll go to you first on this one.
I mean, if you ask me, yeah, buy the dip, buy it big. But here's the thing. The reason why I say that too is I see a lot of people online saying, okay, it's all hype. It's FOMO, right? We've like crossed over into this. I think I saw someone post, oh, the most Google searches for silver happened this week of all time. It's official. We've gone mainstream. But we also do kind of live in our own bubble a little bit, right? This precious metal space or economic space that we're in. I don't know about you guys, but this past week I spent time with my family for Christmas. And I was sneaking looks, constantly following what was going on. And out of a room of, let's say, about 30 people, I couldn't help myself. I started talking about it, and most people don't care that I'm with, let alone even know what's going on with silver. There were maybe 2 out of 30 who even knew that silver was up this year. One of those 2 had a vague understanding of what was going on because they watch my videos, because they love me and they're related to me, right? Everyone else in that room had no clue. So when I actually go out into the public and think about hype and retail and where we're at and everything else going on, I don't even think, again, we've come close to that yet. So could there be a correction? Sure. Again, like I said, I'm still relatively new in the space. I haven't gone through the decades of heartbreak that I think so many people have with silver. That being said, I don't think we're anywhere close to having the masses know what's going on. And once they do, again, I think that we'll see silver go straight up. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
Yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts as well, Mario. And in terms of the FOMO stage, as Taylor correctly pointed out, we're all following X accounts that are posting about silver. We're talking about silver all the time. You guys are both talking about silver all the time on your own channels. So do we live in an echo chamber in that sense? And in your view, has the broader public started to catch on at all? I wonder if you've got a feel for it in terms of the people that surround you in the UK and conversations you have with quote unquote normies, if any of them are bringing up silver at all.
No, if anything, maybe a little bit gold. Gold is much more has much more attention upon it, and I'm not exuberant about silver because I've been buying silver since 2003, and it's been frustrating. And finally, it's like catching up with gold. It's broken that 50 level. And I think a lot of people out there on X, for example, who say, well, all the searches for silver, it's a top. Uh, they're assuming people are exuberant. They're assuming that it's the public that's buying silver. But I think it's just us in our echo chamber. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because we've known it all along that silver is completely suppressed and undervalued. Even like at 15 to 1 right now, should be around $300. So I still think it's undervalued. And I think a lot of the general public out there, even people who are in finance, they have no clue that the way the silver market operates, how the bullion banks have used paper to suppress the price, especially on COMEX and LBMA. And they don't realize that this scheme is unraveling now because the rest of the world, especially BRICS, they don't trust the West anymore, especially the US, because what happened in 2022 and what's happening now with all the tariffs, all the sanctions. So they're not gonna, if they want silver, they're gonna buy the real thing. And I think the reason silver's gone up is because of that, not because the public is buying silver. The public will come in probably when it's like above 200. So yeah, I think there's still a long way to go, and I don't think there's any FOMO. I think the FOMO is in the bullion banks. They're trying their darndest to cover their shorts, and that's why it looks like there's FOMO, but there isn't. And the big buyers, like central banks in the Middle East, they're just waiting for the paper smashes because they know the game now. And that's the good thing as well, maybe about this AI guy that's come out. He does make up a lot of things, I think, and extrapolate many things, but he does explain well what has happened to silver. But not only him, I think channels like ours have been explaining to people for years now, and people listen to us. And so whenever the bullion banks smash silver of late, it goes back up really quickly because these big central banks, they come in and buy the physical. And they're going to continue to do that. So that's the way I see it.
Circa 2020, we pivoted the entire company, turned on its head, brought in new management, George B., our CEO, who's built gold mines all over the planet, and we focused in on CK, copper cake. It was not reliant on drill holes and discoveries. We can go through this process, engineering, permitting, get towards a development stage asset. US Gold Corp is a near-term, low-cost gold producer in Wyoming. To learn more, go to usgoldcorp.com.
Well, gold, of course, also putting in a new all-time high this year, correcting rather, well, to a reasonable amount today, along with silver and especially platinum. Platinum taking a 14% hit so far. We're going to talk about that metal in just a moment. But nonetheless, gold looking incredibly strong as we head into 2026. So I'd love both of your overall thoughts on the gold market right now and how you see the metal performing in the new year. Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, not to sound like a broken record, but I think we're early with gold as well, right? And it's fun because similarly, when I talk to people about gold who are starting to become aware of gold, or even the mainstream media, right, they're talking about a safe haven asset or a hedge. And I think, again, they're kind of completely missing the mark of what's really going on with the dollar and the US treasuries and everything that's happening. And not just a reset in terms of the dollar as a fiat currency, but generally fiat currencies as a whole, right? Globally, there's a breakdown. And I believe that a new gold-based system is being built right now. It's not just that central banks are buying and stockpiling gold to have it as a hedge, right? Positioning for a completely new system that is based in something you can trust, which would be a physical precious metal like gold or silver. And I believe you look at the BRICS, you look at what's going on with the Shanghai Gold Exchange, you look at the Belt and Road Initiative, right? They're not only against stockpiling gold, they're actively going out and creating opportunities to settle gold, to use gold, to have gold again be at the center of this new monetary system. And I think a lot of people are still catching on to just how massive this is going to be. So that's my thoughts on it.
And Mario, what are your thoughts on gold so far this year, how you see it headed into next year, and any comments you'd like to make on the possibility of this monetary reset occurring using gold? Because we've heard a lot of different theories out there from, this chip system, which is a yuan-based payment system, but supposedly could involve gold backing as well. There's been talk of gold on the blockchain. Peter Schiff thinks that's going to be the path forward. Gold-backed bonds, so you're not directly introducing gold as money, but you're putting it into fixed income markets. How do you see that potentially playing out, and just how you see gold positioned right now?
Yeah, first, I'd say I agree with what Taylor said about uh, a gold back system. I think BRICS are working. BRICS and also countries like the Gulf cooperation countries, like the Persian Gulf or Arabian Gulf, whatever you want to call it. And I think they're also going to bring in silver as part of the monetary architecture. But sticking to gold, yeah, I think the fact that they're also building vaults, like in Saudi Arabia and other places, tells me that this gold is going to move around. It's going to be used to settle surpluses and deficits, current account. And yeah, I think we're going back to a kind of 19th century gold standard where you had different currencies. Of course, sterling was the strongest currency because it was the strongest economy. So probably the Chinese currency will be the strongest, but you have to have gold. And I think the BRICS and the countries that are close to BRICS, they're looking at 40%, I think, backing for their currency, which is I think is more than enough because during the 19th century, during the heights of the British Empire, it was about a third here in the UK. So yeah, the prospects for gold are good in that sense, in the geopolitical sense. I think, as Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, I think right when he took office, we're not in a unipolar world anymore. We're in a multipolar world. And I don't think the Americans, especially the Trump administration, wants a very strong dollar. He needs the dollar weak And I think the US economy is not doing as well as GDP tells you. I think a lot of that GDP growth is coming from these data centers for AI. And next week, we've got non-farm payroll. I think that's going to be a very weak number. And that's going to help gold too, because the Fed will have to put the foot on the pedal and inject a lot of liquidity. And they're going to cut rates aggressively, I think, this year. And that's going to put a rocket up the gold price. Yeah, I think gold looks really good. We doubled. I mean, we've doubled in the last 2 years. Why can't we double in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, one adage that gets thrown around is that, the higher the gold price goes, the more geopolitical uncertainty exists, the more, economic chaos, financial systems failing, bank failures, et cetera. It's kind of connected to the point where many people say, a very common quote is, I don't want to live in a world with $10,000 gold. Or if gold goes to 10,000, doesn't matter because you've got so many other problems to deal with in that world. Maybe a loaf of bread costs $100 or whatever. I wonder if you kind of adhere to that adage, if you think that that doesn't really make sense. Because in my mind, in a world where Bitcoin can get to 120 something thousand dollars a coin, why can't gold get to $10,000? Why would that imply that the world is falling apart? But different people have different ideas about this. So I'm wondering what you both think, Taylor.
I think the adage needs to be updated from 10,000 to maybe 100,000, right? I mean, I don't know, like Mario was just saying, if we double in the next 16 months, right, we're almost there. So do I think 10,000 is accurate? No. But do I understand that sentiment when we're talking larger numbers? Yes, in the sense that I believe that if gold, if we're hitting those kinds of numbers, then you have to imagine that we've probably entered some kind of phase of hyperinflation or close to it. Most people are going to lose a lot because I think most people, again, are unaware, unprepared, or don't have the means or opportunity to prepare. And there's going to be a lot of pain. So I understand it, right? It kind of reminds me of like The Big Short when they realize all the profit they can make and Brad Pitt's character says, just don't dance. It's kind of like you could celebrate if you have your medals because you're assuming you're going to have a lot of profit or you're going to be prepared or set up on the other side. But that doesn't mean there won't be a lot of people hurt in the meantime. So I understand it, but I think we got to bump the number up, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think so too. Mario, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back to pre-1971, we were at $35. And by 1980, we were at almost 900. And then we stayed between 400 and 250. I don't see why it couldn't go to 10,000. The world would still be, it's just a reflection of the world being a more turbulent and chaotic place. But I think nowadays, so few people understand the importance of gold that they'll be able to allow gold to go up that much. So I don't see a problem. Maybe if it goes to 250,000, like in a year's time, then there's a problem. But 10,000 is like, I don't think it's a problem.
Well, it's not only gold and silver, but platinum has also had an incredible year and has quietly been breaking out. Now, it experienced similar parabolic rise and fall to silver on the final trading day of last week, and once again dropping, I believe, around 14% or around that number as we're speaking at the moment. Now, platinum, unlike gold and silver, is generally seen as a purely industrial commodity, with its main use being in catalytic converters for internal combustion engines. I believe it might also be used in hybrid vehicles as well. Why do you think it's moving along with gold and silver in this scenario? Do you think some part of the market sees it as money, or is this purely driven by industrial demands? Mario, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I think it's linked to gold because it's a hard asset, not because of it being having some monetary quality. And if you look at all the metals this year, with the exception of one or two that are up only like single digits, they're all up double digits. And the Bloomberg Commodity Index as well. That's taking off and breaking out. I think it's a reflection of the fact that we're going to have a lot of inflation because the central banks have no other option. So platinum, yeah, is going to benefit from it because all these commodities, all these metals, you can't create them out of thin air, and more and more people are realizing that is the case. So that's why I think platinum is, and gold. Gold is the leader. It always starts before. It did that in 2020, and it's doing it in the last couple of years.
And Taylor, your thoughts on platinum, and do you see it as a kind of a part of the strategy when it comes to building a precious metal stack? Do you put platinum in there, or do you view it strictly as an industrial commodity?
I view it strictly as industrial and an investment. I don't think of it as monetary, but I really agree with what Mary was saying. It actually just made me think of earlier this year. I was at the Rick Rule conference in July, and Grant Williams did a talk that I really liked, and it was about trust. Trust being best commodity and the most precious commodity moving forward. And he talked about trust collapsing right now, not only in fiat currencies, but in media, in government, right, online, all these different areas of trust that are collapsing. And in order to have any kind of semblance society moving forward or what a future looks like, you're going to have to find a way to build and regain trust. And I think that's partly why we're seeing all of the, like Mario said, hard assets, right? A return to this is because it's something you can trust. And I think that's really important as we move forward. And I don't think that's going away. I think it's only going to increase.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And of course, trust in the political class, like you said, I think is at an all-time low in many parts of the world. Media as well, who's complicit in a lot of the things that the government does. So those were some great points. I want to talk about copper for a moment here. I'm just checking the price right now to see where we're at. We've seen copper drop dramatically today as well, almost 5% after hitting all-time highs. So very interesting that it's following a similar pattern to silver and platinum, and gold as well, although to a lesser extent. Now, do you both think we're on the verge of a major bull market for metals and commodities in general? And if so, aside from precious metals, which hard assets do you think would be the biggest winners in such a scenario? Potentially copper or any other ones you can think of, Mario?
Yeah, copper actually does have some monetary qualities. I've heard from people that I speak to that countries in Africa accept copper as a form of payment for their natural resources. But if you look back at the 70s, we had a similar scenario of inflation. The best performers were gold and silver. So I'm going to stick to gold and silver. I think copper could do well. So could the other commodities. But yeah, it's probably a good thing to diversify a little bit. But I'm sticking to the monetary commodities because that's what I focus on. But it's not to say that copper won't do well. Copper is a really important part of the economy. And with the electrification of things, copper is going to be even more important, just like silver. But yeah, so that's how I see copper.
Taylor, your thoughts on copper's rise and any other metals you might be watching outside of the precious metal space? I think your answer is going to be similar to Maria's.
I was going to say this might shock you, Jesse, but I'm also going to stick with my gold and silver. I mean, yes, of course, like there's nothing wrong. I think again, what I view gold and silver as again is my protection. Like when I study what's going on monetarily, when I look at history, currency resets throughout history, where we are today, it always comes back to gold and silver. That being said, if you want to diversify, if you want to invest in copper, uranium, or anything else, I mean, even hard assets you could call like farmable land is really interesting to me, right? There's all kinds of different things you could kind of go down the path on as far as what's going to be important in the future. And therefore what will bring you profit. But for me, gold and silver is what I'm going to keep stacking.
Well, my ears perked up when you said uranium, my favorite commodity of all time. We need to have an off-camera discussion about the benefits of investing in uranium. But guys, this has been a fantastic discussion as always. Taylor, tell us about your program, Tailor-Made Economics at ITM Trading.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at ITM Trading. I have a show on there, Tailor Made Economics, where I try and break down complex financial topics so that we can learn and grow together. You can also find me on X at Taylor Kenney ITM. And of course, ITM, we are a full service gold and silver dealer, but we really specialize in education as well. So if you have any questions about gold, silver functionality, or are ready to take that step, you can always find us at ITM Trading.
Okay, great. Well, I'll put the YouTube as well as your X account and the ITM Trading website. Links will be in the description. Mario,
Perfect.
tell us about the Innecco 64 YouTube channel.
Yes, we just celebrated our 10th anniversary in November. So
Congratulations. Wow.
thanks.
Nice.
Yeah, and I guess I am the home of alternative economics and contrarian views. What does that mean? Well, I try to look at things uh, with a different slant than the mainstream economists and the analysts in the financial sector. And that, like Taylor said, also I try to educate people as well about money because I think very few people know about money and the history of money, also inflation and things like that. And yeah, I've been doing a lot more interviews with other people, which is a good thing, bringing in new guests. And I post a video basically every day, and I do a live stream on Sunday at 8 p.m. London time.
Great. Well, I'm going to put a link to the Innecco 64 YouTube channel as well as your X account so people can follow you there. Guys, as always, tremendous conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Happy New Year's to you both, too.
Thank you, and you're welcome. Happy New Year to you as well.